My friend, this is important right now for you to understand. It's one of the greatest examples of irrelevance. The letter that Cassie wrote to the judge regarding Diddy's sentencing for Mann Act violations is irrelevant. I understand she went through some grief. I'm not arguing that point. But this week, Sean Diddy Combs is said to be sentenced in the federal courtroom. And as the proceedings close in, the headlines have been dominated not by the narrow legal question of his alleged violation of Mann Act stuff. This is a different story. But it's from his former partner and lover. And granted, listen, I'm not suggesting she wasn't beaten or hurt or harmed, but this is dominated not by the narrow legal question of his alleged violation of the Mann Act and that sort of thing, but by something entirely different. A letter from his former lover, partner, Cassie Ventura, whose famous scene in the hotel really just made everybody sick, and I understand it. But it was delivered directly to the judge presiding over his fate. And the question that you have to think of, and I have to think of, is ask this very simple question: do you or do you not think this is relevant? That's the issue. Now, my friends, gather around and thank you for joining me for this instance right now. Let me remind you of a couple of things which are very critical. I want to bring to your attention one of our great sponsors, preparewithlionel.com. Years ago, if I had talked about civil war in the streets or false flags or lockdowns or riots or blackouts or supply chain sabotage, people would have thought, you're out of your mind. Well, this isn't theory, it's reality, and it scares you and should scare you. The elites are dismantling everything on schedule. 1 week without food and the system collapse. Let me tell you something right now. Cash, crypto, gold, you can't eat that. Worthless when your family is hungry. Hunger is the weapon, control is the plan. Right now, my friends, remember, survival is primal. Food, water, energy, ammo, that's it. That's the game. That's why I trust My Patriot Supplies 3-month emergency food kit. Over 2,000 calories a day, 22 meal varieties, a shelf life of up to 25 years. And right now, 4 weeks free, a $247 bonus. So go to preparewithlionel.com. It's the link right now in the description section. Preparewithlionel.com. Secure your food, protect your family, lock down your future. The storm is here, my friends. Preparation isn't paranoia, it's survival. Now let's talk about this case. It's been one that I predicted 100% that he would be acquitted because of the fact. But I thought for sure the Mann Act would absolutely be included within that, but apparently not. Maybe they saw it differently. That is either going to be overturned on appeal. I don't think the judge is going to do anything after the fact, any kind of post-motion granting of a judgment of acquittal or any post-trial relief. I think he's going to be sentenced probably for a de minimis amount of time. Remember, it wasn't that big of a charge, very frankly. He has no prior record. He's been in prison or jail for I don't know how long. When you consider credit for time served, the amount of time he's accumulated, hell, he may do less than a year. Who knows? But right now, Cassie and others want them to lower the boom on him. And that's the bottom line. The letter that's been presented by the press as a searing personal account, this raw testimonial of past abuse and manipulation and trauma, it's now being elevated as though it has direct bearing on the case. But here's the problem. Legally, it doesn't. This isn't a trial about Cassie. This isn't a civil proceeding over a broken contract or a personal injury claim. This is a narrowly defined criminal charge involving the Mann Act, which deals specifically with the transportation of individuals across state lines for unlawful sexual activity. And the elements of the statute are specific and limited. And yet, we find ourselves in the theater of emotion, with the justice system allowing unrelated narratives to dominate the atmosphere. Now, listen very carefully. I don't want people to take it the wrong way. I'm not trying to dismiss this, but the law is about facts, not feelings. The core of the Mann Act, the core of this, as alleged against Combs, is about whether he transported individuals across state lines for illegal purposes. That's it. It's not about his character. It's not about whether his long, tumultuous personal history is on trial. It's not about Cassie's past relationship, the grievances, the problems, the violence, and yet the injection of her letter at this stage blurs that line deliberately. When the justice system allows unrelated stories to color the process, we risk transforming sentencing into a referendum on someone's reputation, not their specific crime. If this was about trafficking, if this was about racketeering, maybe. That's not what this is. Judges are supposed to rely on evidence, statutes, precedent. They are not supposed to become arbiters of morality based on letters written by aggrieved ex-partners. Now it's relevant. I understand that. But understand what we're talking about. The particular crime at hand, violation of the Mann Act. This is dangerous. Her letter isn't evidence in the case, though. It was not introduced, cross-examined, or tested by adversarial process. It's a piece of narrative, and again, it shows her that he was a bad guy. But the bottom line is simply this. You have to ask yourself this question. Did Sean Diddy Combs, was he a pimp? Did he bring women in as a pimp would? This is what they got Jack Johnson on, and R. Kelly, and Chuck Berry. Or was he a guy who liked to party and have freak-offs with baby oil and Tootsie Rolls or whatever the hell it is, and he brought in women to accommodate that? That's the bottom line. That's what this is about. And this is not to in any way countenance or agree to the way he behaved. The evidence is that no, he wasn't running some prostitution ring. He was bringing girls in or inviting them. Women, by the way, women who came out of the woodwork who wanted to be a part of this. Women who said, I want to be there. They could have left at any time. Was Cassie held there against her will? Was she threatened or was she pressured? Now, I'm not suggesting that's not serious or that doesn't carry any weight in and of itself, but that's a different story. You got to be very careful not to put yourself in the position where you take this too far. Why? Why was this allowed to stand? There was no evidence of this. He wasn't putting on brothel parties. He was merely the same way that some people, whether they do it for award shows, they do it for the Oscars and the Grammys, they do it for, this is what a lot of talent agencies do. This is what people like. This is what people like in the modeling business did. Look, let me just say something. This was a symbiotic relationship. They wanted to get close to him, to get close to the money and the stars and the like. They could have left any time they wanted. I don't want to make comparison to the Epstein case, but there were a lot of girls there who were, some were underage, and that's a different story, but they could have left at any time. Epstein had a bevy, a seemingly endless list, a feeder system for his staff, his stable. Same thing goes for Diddy. So while he's a dirtbag, I understand this. There is no such crime as being a dirtbag. If there was, half of the people in the music business and entertainment and Washington would be cracking rocks upstate, guilty as charged. Focus on the facts. Focus on what's alleged. Take into account her particular her insight, but was her suffering a violation of the Mann Act or in relationship to? It's one thing if he was charged with sex trafficking and she says, yes, I was trafficked and this is my pain. Got it. But she was a prostitute? Is that what she's saying? Was she offered to men as a prostitute? Because that's what he's charged with. Are you sure you know what you're doing, Cassie? Are you sure you know what you're saying? Think about this carefully. And thank you for watching. Make sure you like the video. Hit that little button so you notified of live streams and new videos. Don't forget our sponsor, preparewithlionel.com. And I want to see your thoughts and comments on this. I really do. And don't forget these words, as we always say, the monkey's dead. No, it's the wrong one. It's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. That's my radio show. I've been doing this for so long. I'm confused. How about this one? Comment as you see fit. That's more like it.